What is going on, Clippers fans? Welcome to Season 3, Episode 5, I think, counting all the lives we've done.
Get it together, man.
Of Clips and Dip. I'm frazzled. These midweek holidays have me thrown off. We hope everyone had a great 4th. I am Chuck Mockler, joined by Will Updike and Adam Oslin, coming us from his friend's place in NorCal. It's going to be a good time today. We're talking what the Clippers have lost, what they've gained. It's been a whirlwind since last weekend's weekend of lives, I feel like we had after the Paul George and the James Harden stuff. Before we get into the new guys, before we didn't get into what might be next, Adam, Will, how you guys doing? How was your 4th? Will, you go first.
I had a great 4th. I saw you actually, so that was pretty. That was a pretty good time. Not beating the "do they live together" allegations, apparently.
Yeah,
but no, it was great. It's. I wonder. It kind of had me thinking. Like I was remembering that 4th of July, obviously the most notorious in Clippers fan history, and I was just kind of thinking to myself, like, what is that next domino going to be for the Clippers? Like, what is that? Are they going to end up making, a big swing this summer? Or is it going to be a situation where we're going to have to wait a little while to acquire another big free agent like that?
Interesting. I was not thinking about the Clippers at all yesterday. I had grill master responsibility.
Casual.
I was very casual yesterday. I had to focus on the grill, and I think everyone at the barbecue was.
No, you crushed it.
Adam, how was your 4th?
It was pretty good. I put down the smoke bombs and the sparklers and let the kids handle that stuff and just watched and observed from a distance, a safe distance.
911 is ready.
Nobody lost a hand.
Yeah.
Nobody lost a hand. One of my buddies did blow up his hand one time in Mexico, but just got on some morphine, started talking shit to everybody while he was on it, and then eventually healed.
There you go.
M80s, man. He had a string of them. You got to be careful.
Oh, jeez.
But it's weird and nostalgic, and I'm up in NorCal, where I'm from in Sacramento, so I've had time to kind of ruminate a little bit too and decompress after the Fast and Furious type of Clippers weekend we had with those 4 shows we did in 3 days, all lives last week. If you missed any of them, check them out. We had it covered, the whole situation with Paul George and more.
Yeah, we covered, extensively everything that we know so far about free agency. So if you need a catch up or a refresher, I would recommend checking those out.
Yes, and you can find those at youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast or anywhere you listen to podcasts. So now that's kind of what we were going to talk about first, where the Clippers stand. If you're just a casual deciding to listen for the first time, the Clippers have lost Mason Plumlee. PJ Tucker doesn't seem long for the roster. Russell Westbrook, there's a pending trade. They're trying to find a team to take Russell Westbrook right now to also help facilitate this Chris Dunn deal.
Should be easy according to the Russ stands, right? It shouldn't be hard to find a guy to replace what is his $4.5 million contract or $5 million that he opted into, likely because there weren't going to be any other offers out there, which is pretty wild at this point. I know he's turning 36, but maybe the rest of the league was also watching the playoff series where he went 8 for 42 the last 5 games. It was very unfortunate. And I like Russ, but there's no way to explain away what happened against the Dallas Mavericks easily. And really what he's been throughout his playoff career. But it's tough right now, I guess, to find that landing spot.
Yeah, I think this is I feel like we always get hit with Ty Lue didn't use him in the right way. He was forced to try to play a different style of play. And I think if you look at the number of suitors out there in the league, it feels pretty apparent that it's a puzzle piece that nobody is thinking is going to really be able to complement the team at this juncture. Otherwise, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be able to snag a minimum offer from another team.
And supposedly it's the Nuggets who have, apparently Jokic wants Russell Westbrook, which go off, King. I would love it if the Nuggets got Russell Westbrook. I think
if they can make it work with Russell Westbrook, more power to them.
Sure.
I will wait with bated breath to see how that will go.
I agree. So so supposedly the Clippers, the Chris Dunn deal, that's just kind of hung up
on that. Deal? Is the done deal a done deal?
Well, I think
UNN.
I think the Lob the Jam will be the first one to know. Go show them some love on Twitter, too. Shap had to be excited. Then, of course, Paul George went to the 76ers. The Clippers have gained Derrick Jones Jr., Mo Bamba. Nic Batum is back. We talked on Chris Dunn. Kevin Porter Jr., probably not going to do anything for this team. And then there's a maybe gained guy that I wanted to talk about after we kind of talk about, the guys that we've gained. We haven't really all talked about this on the pod kind of since all the moves have been like cemented. Adam, the more I kind of read into the Derrick Jones Jr. stuff, I'm very excited to see what he looks like in the starting five as the 3 for the Clippers.
Yeah, I think it's a great signing. I don't know if it was a coincidence or not that you lose Paul George and then bring in the guy that locked him down and held him to 19 points per game and taking only 15 shots in that series against the Dallas Mavericks. He was the best defender on the floor for both teams when it came to impact on that series. It was really just game 4 in the first half of game 4 where Paul George really got loose offensively at a really efficient rate. So the one thing I'll say about Derrick Jones Jr., and I do like the signing overall very much because it looks like to me that they're trying to build a defensive identity. And I went back, and we talked about this throughout the season, how bad the Clippers were, shockingly bad on the defensive end, considering they ended up being the 4th seed in the Western Conference because their offense was so elite and overpowering and outstanding once things started to roll with James Harden. But the last 70 games of the season, guys, so minus the first 12, the Clippers were 21st defensively. The last 70 games of the season.
Wow.
And there were moments, and obviously, I don't think the defense is what suffered so much in the playoff series. I did think they flipped a switch on that end and were much better. It was offensively, where they couldn't get much going against the Dallas Mavericks defense. But still, they should always be better than that
brutal.
with the talent they had on the team. So I was on with Doug Gottlieb on Fox Sports Radio yesterday talking about the move. And he kind of pushed back when I said, look, they're trying to build a defensive identity here. They're doing basically the best they can, having lost Paul George. As he said, well, they're no longer a contender. And I said, it's hard to argue they are at this point. But I will say, if you bring in Derrick Jones Jr., Nicholas Batum, and Chris Dunn, you can at least have much more of an identity, a defensive identity out there than they had all of last season. I don't think there's any way that they're going to end up that bad for that long of a time, 21st for 70 games defensively with the type of personnel they have now with those point-of-attack defenders. The one thing, though, about Derrick Jones Jr. is, guys, I think some of what he did in the playoffs, three-point shooting-wise, has to translate now to the regular season. Yeah. Because if you look at his overall numbers in his career from 3, he is only a 31% three-point shooter. Ew. Now, he shot 34% in the regular season last year for the Dallas Mavericks. That's still below league average. But in the playoffs, he was about 37% and was much better throughout the Western Conference run to the finals, where then the numbers kind of fell off. But I want to say he only took, it was at low volume, about 65 three-pointers throughout their playoff run. So it wasn't huge. Yeah. You can't put a ton into that. But what you can hope is that he's 27, and if guys are going to leave him open, like they did a lot in the playoffs, he's going to make teams pay now in the regular season too, and just at least get to league average. He's got to be around 36% from the outside for the Clippers for this really to be a home run slam dunk type of move, I think.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Wow, I didn't realize it was that low, but yes, that does need to be. That really does need to be close to league average. I knew he wasn't exactly a knockdown shooter. Yeah, you mentioned the defense thing. I saw a stat on Twitter that he guarded the number one, like the opponent's team's scoring ball handler. He was number 1 in the amount of time that he guarded them percentage-wise over the season in the NBA. So he's used to tough assignments. It's not like they were giving that to Luka or Kyrie for the Mavs. So he's used to kind of sharpening iron in that sense. And this also, with Terance Mann and with Derrick Jones, this is just another guy to help out Kawhi Leonard in terms of not having to be on the number 1 option the entire game, which I'm pretty hyped for.
Yeah, he also brings youth and bounce to the team, which is like, the youth thing was something that was just achingly apparent for this team during the regular season. The way they sort of limped out of the All-Star break, it was just, you saw it time and time again, like just effort and pace could really sort of put this team on the ropes, have them on their heels, even with the immense amount of talent on this team, and they could climb out of it at times, but just being able to, insert a little bit of youthful energy into that starting lineup, I think is huge. And did we get Derrick Jones Jr. on a slight overpay? I mean, yeah, I think so. I think we only in total offered him like $3 million more than the Mavs. I think he was offered 3 for 27. We gave him 3 for 30. So it's like a slight overpay to take him from a contender. But if he could get that 3-point shooting number, like if he's even a 36% 3-point shooter during the regular season, I mean, that's significant enough. And it's not, of course, it's not great. It's not, it's not blowing your socks off, but that's enough to open up the floor. And then, he can use his athleticism and what he provides on the defensive end. I think it's a solid pickup. Like, is it enough to replace Paul George? Obviously not. But it is a guy who can, for an 82-game series, maintain a very high level of two-way play. So I do enjoy that.
And so he's 27. So we're getting like $1 million season extra. Feels like, sure, whatever. And he's 27. He's going to be out of this contract when he's 30 as an unrestricted free agent, which means this isn't a contract year, but
his prime years.
Yeah, we're getting his prime years. And then assuming he's still on the team for that last year of this contract, we're getting contract year 29, 30-year-old Derrick Jones Jr. Which if things trend well and he gets better with the things he needs to shore up and kind of, keeps being a good cutter, keeps being a lob threat, keeps being good in transition, that's going to be a nice, it's just going to be a good place for the Clippers to be in. Again, theoretically, I love it as a building block piece.
I found one of my tweets, my play-by-play tweets during every Clippers game at Follow Adame on X. I put a retweet on one of them, which was early on. I can't remember if it was Game 5 or Game 6 or Game 4, but he had a sequence of a block on James Harden at the rim, and then he dunked on Paul George on the other end right afterwards. And that was all in one tweet. And it's like, this is, I guess, who Derrick Jones Jr. can be. The athleticism that Will is talking about. He won the dunk contest, right, in 2020. He won it with Miami, I believe, and he does have the nickname Airplane Mode, which is one of the best nicknames.
2020. Yeah. Good call.
Right. It's legit bounce like the Clippers have never had in the 2-1-3 era, really, where you could throw it up and go get it. And having someone like James Harden being the guy dishing to him, that's huge. That can make him much better. I know he had Luka and Kyrie, but James Harden is a great lob passer.
I just thought of something I want to see, which between Derrick Jones Jr. and Terance Mann, the Clippers have 2 really good cutters in the starting 5, which is great. I want to see, this just popped in my head because we've seen Jokic do it with Aaron Gordon, and I'm not comparing these 2 players in ability, but if we see a Zoo Harden pick and roll, Zoo gets the ball in the short roll and then finds Derrick Jones Jr. cutting baseline for an oop, I think Clippers Twitter is going to lose its mind, and I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities for things that could maybe happen. Not routinely, but I think a Zoo to Derrick Jones Jr. oop is not out of the question if they give Zoo some more responsibility.
This could open up the possibility. I'm not saying I want this. I'm not saying I'm asking for this.
Oh, no.
We talk about regrouping without Paul George and the amount of options they have under the first apron now. One of the other options that Derrick Jones Jr. brings is, well, you have that point of attack defender. Could they end up trading Terance Mann because they have Derrick Jones Jr. now? Because he's extension eligible, man. And throughout last season, when he was asked about the contract stuff, he didn't love that question.
A little cagey. Yeah, a little.
As much as Terance Mann can be,
Yeah, right. Still very polite.
Yeah, he pushed back a little bit. No, that's tabled. That's not happening. So I almost wonder if this is somewhat insurance in case they made some bigger move where they had to include Terance Mann for a team that is willing to give him whatever the extension is. That's not a bad. I don't want to say he's a replacement for Terance Mann, but it's not a bad pivot should something like that happen.
Ugh, I hope we don't trade Terance. Will, go ahead. Sorry, I feel like you had.
Oh no, not at all. But I think that's super valid. Having some sort of like backup plan or redundancy. Not the same player, but different players to me. But yeah, I think if I was Terance, I think I would intend to at least put some feelers out to the rest of the league and see what's going on there. He's spent the entirety of his career here. He's never gotten to control what his destination is. He's constantly in the rumor mill of a trade piece, which who knows how serious any of that stuff actually ends up becoming. But you can't feel with this organization and this team like completely solidified that you're going to be in Los Angeles at the end of your contract. So I think if I was him, I certainly couldn't fault him for wanting to test the market and test the waters. And we know obviously that it has a huge tie to the Massachusetts area from being from Lowell, and I mean he would be a fucking incredible fit on this team.
I don't want to think about that at all.
Yeah, no. But I agree with Adam. It does. It also just gives you one extra move. I don't want to see Terance traded, just to be perfectly clear, but it just does give you one extra move to sort of maneuver.
I'd rather see Terance Mann get a shot with more opportunities on offense now without Paul George. As you spread around.
We need it, right?
His shot attempts to make up for the loss of him. But I do think there's a little bit of a question. As much as you could lean into defense with this starting five, should Derrick Jones Jr. be in it? If you're saying it's James Harden, Terance Mann, Derrick Jones, Kawhi Leonard is still playing the four, and Ivica Zubac, that's a great starting five defensively. Outside of James Harden, everybody can really guard at a very high level. But is there enough shot creation and firepower in that starting five?
I don't know. I think we're gonna have to wait 10, 15 games to get that figured out. But right off the top of my head, like you said, Terance Mann's role has to get expanded on offense. So does Zoo's.
I think that's the biggest question, right? Is like, how can they make Zoo a more integrated piece into the offense? And that, I think, if they can go back to that, and we have seen it be very successful, then to me the answer is yes. There is a way that they can come up with the shot creation, that they can play through Zoo, not all the time, but at points to lighten some of the load for the other guys. And with having younger guys, yes, Derrick Jones Jr. doesn't have the shot, but he is more of a lob threat. He's got a little bit more giddy up than Paul George did. I mean, at times for sure.
I think,
and so there are options. It's not the same offense. It's definitely a different offense. It'll probably be uglier at times. But the big question is, are they willing to trust in Ivica Zubac to be a larger fulcrum on the offensive end?
I'm fine with accepting they're not going to be a top 5 offense, but can they still be 6 through 10 somewhere?
Yeah,
can they still be in that range with the defense now being top 10? If you have that type of balance, I think you're still in really good shape. But to Will's point about Ivica Zubac, that's it. If they actually feature him consistently now, where he was thriving with James Harden in December and January, right before he got injured with the calf injury, and was getting 12 and 10 every night. And then let's not forget, he was the second best player for the Clippers in that series. It wasn't Paul George. It was Ivica Zubac averaging 16 and 9, and game one going for 20 and 15. So lean into it. You have James Harden that makes every big man he plays with better. You have a really good big man, especially skill-wise, compared to some of the guys that were just rim runners that Harden had before. Ivica Zubac has enough where you can dump it down to him on the block and let him go to work. He really does.
It's very real. And now someone backing up or competing for the chance to back up Ivica Zubac. The Clippers signed Mo Bamba, which, 7 foot tall, can post, can shoot from 3 a little bit, doesn't really have any post moves to speak of that he can hit routinely, but young, energetic legs, trying to see what he can do. I mean, for a backup center position, I'm assuming it's going to be more productive than Mason Plumlee, I think, but I don't know. Will, how are you feeling about Bamba?
I think it's like an interesting, like sort of, I can see the raw potential. I don't know if I'm ready to get there with him being the number 2 backing up Ivica Zubac. He could change my mind, obviously, throughout the course of the season, but right now I'm just not seeing it. Obviously, the offensive skill set is a step down from what's been successful offensively for our centers and guys like Mason Plumlee or Isaiah Hartenstein. And I just don't know, like, defensively better than Plumlee, probably a better decision maker just because he's never been as showy of an offensive player. But I just don't know.
He's got to show it.
Yeah, I just don't think that he's a better defender for sure. I don't know that he's there defensively enough to be the number 2, or if we should still keep that position in flux and either make another addition or hope that Kai Jones is able to sort of morph into that role as well. To me, the backup center is still very much a question mark. I think we have a couple of incomplete answers, but the question hasn't fully been answered for me as to who's really backing up Ivica Zubac.
I thought Robert Flom, Big Shot Bob Flom, wrote up a really good article about Mo Bamba as soon as he signed and revealed a little bit of the rebounding percentage numbers. Basically, he's a much better rebounder. Not much better than Daniel Tice because of his lack of size,
Sure.
and a little bit better than Mason Plumlee as well. And rebounding wasn't exactly, Plumlee's biggest weakness. It was just being out of position all the time defensively. When it came to defensive numbers, when it came to efficiency within 6 feet of the rim, teams were shooting 64% on Mo Bamba there, which isn't great. You'd want to see that be a little bit higher. I did look, though, at the Philadelphia 76ers, and their defensive rating was 2 points better with him on the floor over the last year, which is kind of interesting considering, they're a pretty good defensive team. They have Joel Embiid, who's a really good rim protector. So I think he has the potential, especially because he's still, 25 years of age, to really prove himself and show something. But there's a lot of inconclusive boxes to check off right now with Mo Bamba and who he can be in this league exactly. I thought he was really going to thrive when he came to the Lakers a couple of years ago. I was concerned that, oh, no, they just got a steal here, him coming away from Orlando. But he actually shot his lowest three-point percentage with the Lakers at, I think, 31% he did. But he was at 39% last year. It was just one shot, one attempt, 1 3 per game. But on 4 attempts during the 21-22 season with Orlando, 71 games, 4 attempts from 3, he shot 38%. He is a career 36% three-point shooter. I do think that is real. They may be daring him to take that shot still because, he's that big. And I don't know what you're going to do anyways against a 7-footer who can shoot over the top of you like that. But I think he could stretch the floor a little bit. What I want to know is Ivica Zubac going to get 30-plus minutes per night? Because then
that helps
there's
a lot.
Much less to worry about with the backup big if he's only getting 14 or 15 minutes out there. And I think
that's a great point.
Zubac more than earned it, right? Last season he was at 26 minutes per game. That was lower than the year before. And with what he just did in the playoffs, with how he's looked with James Harden, I think he should be at around 31, 32 minutes per night.
And another productive summer. He's killing it in international ball right now.
Did you see what he did to Luka Doncic in the post?
No, the more minutes for Zoo does alleviate the backup center questions. But I think, it's yet another year of kind of what's the backup center situation going to look like for the Clippers. We're just kind of perpetually in this now.
As what they signed Kai Jones today?
Today, they signed him. He's going to be there for Summer League probably. Or did he get hurt? I thought he hurt his ankle or something and might not be able to do Summer League.
Ooh,
for
that would be quite the setback for
Let
him.
me look.
Because, he wasn't on the team until it wasn't official, I think, till today. A lot of people assumed he'd be there for Summer League with the Los Angeles Clippers, but now it looks like he's getting a real shot.
Yeah, why did I think he got hurt for some reason? Well, never mind. Just strike that from the record. But I thought he had an ankle thing and it was going to keep him out.
Someone insert the joke of he's a Clipper and that's why you thought he got hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And then another guy who was coming back for the Clippers, we got Nic Batum back, which just feels great. I don't think anyone's upset about this move. I hope he doesn't. I'm interested to see what his minutes look like. But this feels good. I don't think there's no bad things to say about this, right?
We talked about the possibility of it on a podcast over the weekend. I did say if Nicholas Batum came back to the Clippers, I would be rooting for France this summer. So I actually went out and bought a Nic Batum jersey, a France jersey.
Really?
Coming in the mail. I'll be wearing it. I don't care if they're playing Team USA. Vive la France. I'm all in with Nicholas Batum being back with the Clippers. I'm ecstatic. Everybody's so happy about that because it's not just a feel-good signing. His utility that they missed so much last season is still there if you saw him win that play-in game for the Philadelphia 76ers.
Okay, sorry. I found the tweet from Law. July 3rd, Kai Jones has an ankle injury that will keep him out of Summer League, per source. Another setback after he had a hamstring injury. So that sucks for Kai Jones. And that
deal is non-guaranteed though. And so yes. I don't know I don't know if it's his like previous sort of mental health issues or if it's the injury stuff, but it is a non-guaranteed deal.
Yeah. And then the Clippers got Chris Dunn, TBD, but another, defensive guy for point of attack defense coming off the bench. We're going to take a break in a second, talk about the glut of guards that we have right now. But yeah, I hope the Chris Dunn signing gets figured out because having a defensive minded backup point be the number 2 would feel really good for this team, I think.
An elite defensive minded backup point guard. On the defensive end, he is elite in that area. You look at all the numbers, he's incredible. He's not a great offensive player. He never has been, which is why he's never gotten a ton of minutes out there.
Mm-hmm.
But he's more than serviceable. I saw it was Dr. Schaap who was putting out some of his numbers when it came to floaters from Chris Dunn. And from 5 to 9 feet out, it was 46% last year, which was 20th among guards. The year before, he was 3rd from 5 to 9 feet out. He was at almost 55%. And both of those numbers from 5 to 9 feet out from Chris Dunn that he shot the last couple of years, that's better than any Clipper guard shot from 5 to 9 feet out last season.
There we go. So there's some positives. Let's hope the deal gets done. Let's hope Denver gets Russ, right?
I'm a fan. I also think, though, what does that mean for Terance Mann? What does it mean for Bones Highland? I guess we'll get into it.
We're going to get into it right after this audio break. If you're listening, again, you can find us anywhere you find podcasts. Thanks for listening. If you're watching, find us on YouTube at youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. We got some ads coming up, and then we're talking what's next for the Clippers in 3, 2, 1.
All right, so we ran down the sort of the big fish so far of the Clippers free agency, offseason, whatever you want to call it. Now on to some other pieces of news. We did sign Cam Christie to a 4-year deal. And then what's with this signing, Charles? We have a signing and then a reversal on a signing. Let's get into it.
This was odd. So the Clippers announced that they'd sign Dinos Mitoglu. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I believe he's Greek. They announced the signing on the website, and then the page was deleted, which was weird. So maybe it was just an accidental thing. Maybe it was a test page thing. I don't know. But Lawrence Frank went to watch him in Greece already this year, I believe one time. He's 6'10". He's got some mid-post skills, some athleticism. He can pick and pop, but could be another name to watch out for. Maybe there might be something weird with how his having to buy himself out of his contract and how that money relates to like the new CBA and stuff like that. But it appears that this player might be on the Clippers' radar. So another big who has some pick and pop skills possibly could be a Clipper at some point. And
they're really searching for that backup big.
They're going everywhere.
Digging deep to try to find the perfect fit, to try to find the Isaiah Hartenstein type of fit.
Yeah.
Which they did have a couple of years ago. I did see Law Murray put out that Isaiah Hartenstein came in to try to earn that backup spot. He was 23. Kai Jones was in the same spot. Yeah, that'd be nice, right? If he was half Isaiah Hartenstein, they'd be in business.
Yes. But we wanted to talk about, Adam, you brought this up. The Clippers have a bunch of guards right now. We have James Harden, Terance Mann, Norm Powell, Bones, Chris Dunn, and I guess you could count Kevin Porter Jr. on that list. I don't think he's going to get any real playing time.
I I don't know.
Yeah, I actually don't know
2-year deal,
about
right?
that one either.
I don't know. It's a minimum. I'll look up what it is. I believe it's a minimum. Either way, that's a lot of guards. Not something we're totally unfamiliar with in this Clippers era, but does it feel like a move's coming? Will, where are you at? Do you think we're going to have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 guards on the roster by opening day?
Garden.
Yes. I mean, probably. Yeah.
Adam, do we want 6 guards on the roster?
I think
I didn't say that.
Fair. No, yeah. It is a different question. It is a different question for sure.
No, we want to lean back into Wingstop. We want to get back to having more versatility at the wing position, which Batum is a great move for that. Derrick Jones Jr. helps with that. We know what Terance Mann can do. He can play multiple positions. I do think a move's coming. It could end up being Bones. It could end up being Norman Powell. It could end up being Terance Mann. I think one of those 3 guys most likely is not on the roster for training camp. I don't know what that move is. It's just conjecture and speculation on my part that they have a grip of guards or a glut of guards, and they're not going to platoon all these guys.
It'd be crazy. You couldn't get a rhythm with rotating.
No, it's not going to turn into what we saw at the start of the 22-23 season, where it was John Wall and Reggie and Luke Kennard and Norman Powell. I don't think they're going back to that. I think they've seen enough of what can go wrong defensively when you have 4 guards and 3 guards out there at all times. As much as I love Bones, I don't know how the Clippers really feel about him. I don't know how Coach Lou really feels about him, because he did sulk at times, it looked like, last season, and didn't take advantage of the reps and opportunities that he got. As much as he has shown that to be that spark and to be electric out there and to be able to help this team in some real utility with his 3-point shooting and downhill attack, which he greatly improved on last season. You could see it.
Yeah.
He was much better finishing at the rim. I don't know if they're, willing to wait to see. And this was somebody who apparently wasn't able to be traded along with PJ Tucker at the trade deadline this past season. So I can't say for certain that Bones is going to be on the team at the start of this year, especially with Kevin Porter Jr. there now too. Like, he's technically, the more accomplished guy at the NBA level. Like, he is. He's had a 50-point game. He's averaged 20 points per game.
Yeah.
How good and how much that attributed to winning with the Rockets. It's like, well, it's hard to say because the Rockets were just really bad all around. So it's hard to say if his points were empty stats or if he was just on a bad team that was rebuilding.
And Kevin Porter Jr. is a minimum. 2.2 this year, 2.5 next year. Yeah. With a player option next year.
So kind of a prove it type of thing for him.
And he's averaged what? He's like a 30 minute.
He's played a lot of minutes.
I realize it's a much different situation. I don't think it's going to be that high for the Clippers, but I think
it's real run.
I think assuming that he's not going to be a piece of the rotation is, I don't think that's the case.
We'll see.
I think he has real 6th, 7th man off the bench potential as like a scoring punch type thing. If he is, obviously the off the court stuff, we talked about that and how he felt about that over the weekend, but he's got a ton of upside still. There's no way around that. He is an electric scorer at times.
And I think Norm he's been the name that's kind of been in the scuttlebutt recently. He's a hard contract to move. I think he's not exact. You know what I mean? He's a scorer.
I don't know. We had him in that trade package for Zach LaVine last weekend.
Hey, that
like it would work.
I guess you just got to find the right scenario, right? It's a guy wrong side of 30 in the NBA.
How many years are left on that deal?
2. This and next year, I believe.
So that's
I think it makes it
terrible.
Viable.
Yeah, it is. Let me double check. 19 and then 20 and 25, 26.
6 men are getting paid around what he's at. Like that type of player is around 16 to 20 million now. It's a real thing. And look, he's one of the best of them.
Yeah.
he is as efficient as it gets. Does he offer a lot else? No, we've talked about that, but he still supplies a lot of offense at a high clip from three, especially that you need in today's NBA.
Do you think he's worked into, believe it or not, we've heard this name thrown around to be a Clipper, a John Collins trade? That's, again, people are kicking that old dead horse one more time. I know there's been some Grant Williams scuttlebutt just in terms of like guys who could maybe be gettable to help out on the wing or something like that. But I mean, that's the world in which Norm Powell's moved. He's not moved for another guard or anything like that. He's moved for a wing that can at least, come off the bench and fill in the minutes that the Clippers need. Because Batum can't, Batum does need some help off the bench a little bit. I love Nic Batum, but we talked about the legs thing before. It would be nice to have a little help.
I mean, how many minutes is Batum going to play during the regular season? 18 to 22 minutes? Yeah. And that's fine because he's going to win his minutes most likely out there.
For sure. But you know what I'm saying, though. It would be nice to have another wing who's helpful.
No, I agree with you. I'm saying as great as it is to have Nicholas Batum back, he's not going to be an innings eater playing 35 minutes a night. This isn't 2021 Nic Batum. Can he play at that level in spurts? I think so. Could he do that for 82 games? I don't think so.
Yeah, he was playing 26 minutes per game for the 76ers, which is pretty crazy.
What was he playing for the Clippers before they traded him?
18 and then 22, 25, 27. The most he played was 27.
How do you guys feel about Grant Williams? Because actually, I was a pretty big fan of possibly trying to get him last season because I watched him a ton with the Boston Celtics, and he was a plus player for them. And I was kind of shocked at how poorly things went with Dallas.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Oh.
I'm not a fan.
Because the Jimmy Butler thing, or
yeah, why?
I mean, he's just still kind of undersized, and to me, he's like more of like a guard profile. I just don't really see him as offering as much versatility as like a more true sized sort of wing. Good defender. I guess I'd like somebody with a little bit more offensive versatility and just more athleticism in general. And we talked about Terance Mann and the viability in a trade. I mean, Terance Mann plus Norm Powell for John Collins works pretty much straight up. So I don't know. I'm assuming the Jazz want assets, not just to shed money, but that deal works straight up.
Would you rather do that or get Grant Williams for PJ Tucker? Because
I mean, what are you talking about? Put me in the boat and light it on fire. PJ Tucker for Grant Williams.
But I don't think it's that crazy, only because PJ's expiring and Grant Williams is making $13 million over the next couple of years. Charlotte may just want to get away from that.
They got a new coach, which might change things with that outlook. I mean, I would love that trade. Sign me up for that.
Dad brought it up.
Sign me up for that. Grant Williams has had a myriad of ankle injuries, which doesn't make me super excited. But if you could get off PJ Tucker for Grant Williams, I don't think there's anyone in their right mind who would say no to that deal, right?
Grant Williams is
unless he ruins the locker room, which would be a nightmare. But
he's a 38% three-point shooter. Well, it's not like PJ could do that.
That's very true. Very good point.
Grant Williams also a nearly 1-to-1 assist to turnover guy.
That is one of your big bugaboos. So that's not ideal.
I love the way he guards up, though. Honestly, he's really physical.
He's a bit of a prick, which you need on your teams if you're going to be defensive.
Look at the teams in the Western Conference and tell me if the offensive production, if this team like adds Grant Williams, how that correlates. You're not stopping everything. I like the idea of leaning into a defensive-minded thing. I don't get Grant Williams.
For PJ Tucker?
For PJ Tucker, for sure.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's all.
Would you rather do that versus everything you'd have to give up for John Collins?
Yes, because I don't think that John Collins can do as much as what Terance Mann can do within the system of this Clippers team.
Yeah. I mean, he's more of a traditional 4, and all of a sudden Kawhi can slide back into the 3 spot, which would be good for this team.
Does he want to, though? Do we even know if Kawhi wants to do that?
Yeah, that's definitely well, I'll go off of just what he said last season until they get a real one.
Yeah, fair. That's a good point. But like, I don't know. And selfishly, dude, like Terance Mann being a second round pick and spending all his time with the Clippers, I would love for him to get rewarded with a legit deal from the Clippers and
Oh,
have
of
an
course.
actual spot. Because he does have a role now, right?
Yeah,
Starting shooting guard.
I'm not saying that I want him gone or anything. It's just like that's
Sure.
a name that constantly circles the Clipper sphere. If you look at Norm as expendable, which I think just with the lack of shooting and the loss of offensive production with Paul George, I think that changes that calculus a little bit unless one of these younger guards really starts to pop. Then obviously it's a little bit more expendable, but it does work. Like you can figure the money out.
And
I just don't know if the Jazz are willing to just if like just dumping like shedding some salary, because Collins is only on for one more year after this. So it's like, how much money are you really saving? Like you're not getting a pick to maybe save like $7 to $10 million. Like, is that enough? I don't really know.
And Terance, like we talked about, whatever Terance wants for an extension, that's going to dictate if he gets traded too. Because if he asks for something that is like crazy, the Clippers are going to probably be like, well, maybe not. And I don't know.
What have you thought about in terms of going back to more small ball lineups because they brought in Derrick Jones Jr. and Nic Batum now? Not super small, not the 4-guard stuff. I'm talking about getting back to 2021 Clippers basketball.
I think we still need some more playable wings, right? Like, I think it's a pretty thin. So, like, we're talking so it's James Harden, Terance Mann, Derrick Jones Jr., Kawhi, and Nic Batum is the 5-out lineup. I'm not mad at that.
I don't hate that in certain situations.
Yeah,
I think in limited spurts it's interesting. It's not something that's gonna be able to, it's not something that's super sustainable to me.
No, it's not a death lineup or anything like that. It's an annoying ass lineup to try and score against, which could be great for befuddling streak runs or something like that.
It might give you 3 or 4 minutes in a fourth quarter that could swing a game.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. But it's just not like, it's not something you can really lean on. And I don't think right now with the personnel that we have, we can really go small for any sustained amount of time.
It's just last year, they really.
Also, we've just been talking about how much more Zoo needs to be featured in the offense. But yeah, let's not backpedal into small ball.
Look, Zoo can still come back in to be the hammer and close out the game.
You can get 10 minutes. We can give Zoo 10 minutes.
He's likely not playing the entire fourth quarter.
Maybe he should.
Do we know for certain that it doesn't work? Because I don't think that we do.
Have we tried it? We haven't tried it once, I don't think. But yeah,
lineup, by the way, did not have Norm in it.
I don't think Norm is. Yeah, I don't know.
The Power Rangers was one of the best lineups in the NBA last season.
That was true, but that lineup did have Paul George.
So how do you
looked a little less good in the playoffs?
It looks rough in the playoffs.
Kawhi, it wasn't the Power Rangers. Kawhi was.
So
it was the Beetleborgs.
Yeah.
VR troopers.
Did you guys just
the Masked Rider?
Speaking of Kawhi Leonard, they just posted a video of Kawhi arriving at USA men's national team basketball camp. Got a sleeve on his knee. So maybe came straight from the airport.
He got a cool new tat. He wants to do a slow unveiling.
I like that. He's doing what Tua did last offseason. Dude, Tua, like, throughout the offseason would just, like, he just can't just fully tat it.
Did we discuss the report from the LA Times? I think it was Brad Turner. Different report than the one you're probably thinking of right now.
Yeah, we're not talking about that other one.
Regarding Kawhi getting a 45-minute workout in front of Lawrence Frank and some of the other luminaries.
And he impressed. Correct? I believe that was the word. He impressed. They went, oh, right?
Basically,
that was the report, yes.
For Team USA. Steve Kerr was there.
Sick.
They wanted to see where he was at physically.
I mean, I feel good about. I'm glad they impressed and they weren't shocked.
I'm not trying to be an alarmist.
Oh, no.
But I am going to say 5-on-5 is always going to be different. And when he gets in a few games, and even though he'll probably be limited minutes, of course,
Bench
Team
for
USA
sure.
is stacked, loaded. They only need him for so much. They only need everybody for so much. How good the team is. But, yeah, I still will be closely monitoring how Kawhi Leonard looks on Team USA. When you go 3 months of swollen knee, but they said there's no structural damage. It's just I'm still going to be watching pretty closely to see what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Why?
already looking at the sleeve.
Yeah, the sleeve is a new development. Is he going with the T-Max sleeve? Remember when everybody was wearing those sleeves in the early 2000s?
Will, how are you feeling about the Kawhi report? Are you ecstatic?
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling really good. It sounds like he nailed the audition. Hope he gets the part,
Hey, guys, I really want to be a part of this team. Just before we start, I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for giving me a chance. Yeah,
I mean, I feel the same. Like, it's still, like, it's a completely different game doing we didn't get any report of explosive box jumps, but I'm assuming there were a couple thrown in if he was impressing that hard.
I mean, it was the 4th of July or near it. There should have been a couple explosive box jumps.
Yeah, and like I mean,
With
does he do a floor routine like in front of all these guys? Like, what is this? I don't really understand. Or do they just come and like hem and haw while he's like in the gym doing regular gym stuff? Anyways,
dribble 10 times.
I agree with Adam. It's going to be completely different when he's actually like on the court playing in competitive basketball at a high level. But like I said, it can only be good, to be honest with you. Like it can only be good for him to get the data after some more prolonged time off, how that knee is going to respond, and what the next course of action is. Because the answer can't just be a question mark forever, right? I mean, I hope not. And so, in the worst case scenario where he does have to undergo surgery or something, early detection, I guess, would be better.
Yes, I agree with that. All right, before we move on to the final segment, there was an end of an era that we're going to talk about in the next segment for the Clippers that happened recently.
2-1-3 era?
No, a different era.
Oh.
What do we, Adam, what do you think Clippers' chances of in the context of the Clippers right now, big move yet to come? What do you think? Chances 1% chance, 100% chance, where you at? It's one of those.
Well, when you say big move, I think of guys like Levine and DeRozan. Who else is out there? Who else is left at this point or has been rumored to be involved in trade talks? I go back to the Levine trade.
BI still out there.
BI. Because they're under the first apron and are unshackled when it comes to all of the minutia with the new CBA, I think it's very possible. Do they do it? I don't know. Have they seen the trade package we put together that worked on paper?
Are they watching the Bleacher Report streams that I'm doing?
Because we know they're trying to get off PJ Tucker, because we know they're trying to get off of Russell Westbrook's contract. We already know there's 2 guys on the team that are likely not going to be on it by the start of training camp. Very likely. I got to say, I would not be shocked if there was whatever you want to deem a big move, but something else that is significant enough for us to pod about for an hour. How about that?
A Grant Williams or a John Collins. That feels significant enough for the pieces that would go out to pod for 30 minutes.
Yeah, and therefore, we're talking about Terance Mann possibly being involved, Norm Powell possibly being involved. I think these things are real. These options with the Clippers when it comes to roster realignment and what they're trying to do.
Will, are you on the same train as Adam? You think it's happening?
Yeah, I mean, like, look, they have to do something just to get off of PJ Tucker's salary, and ideally, I mean, that's probably going to mean losing an asset. So you're hoping that you're pulling something back in. Like, I just don't know who else wants that contract. So and like to waive and stretch him and to like hamper yourself financially for like 2 seasons after this one. to me is honestly that might be even worse than just paying him the fucking stupid $12 million. Like
I was on the wave and stretch train, and now I'm just like, every choice sucks, so you might as well get a Pete. Like, what a frustrating contract to have on your books.
And like maybe it's just seconds. Like maybe you can get it done with seconds. If it was
it's like 3 seconds to dump a contract right now is what the going rate is or whatever.
How many seconds did they have? Would they have to give up somebody else just to get some seconds back, like Bones or something? I don't know.
I mean, Bones and PJ, that would suck, but if it's got like
I don't know that that's enough value. Like
Bones PJ in 2 seconds. That's more than enough.
Oh yeah.
For anything that gets him off the books.
To go to a team like Charlotte that just wants to shed salary.
Like how we're just like, take all the go to Charlotte.
Expiring contracts are not nothing, especially in today's NBA.
Give them to Detroit. They're gonna have so much cap space after they shed the PJ Tucker salary after next year too.
I don't know. Tobias got like 60.
That's true. I think there's something happening too. I think we'll probably end up doing an impromptu pod to welcome Grant Williams or someone like that. I don't know if Levine's in the cards. I think DeMar
tantalizing for me
too much. I think the way that the Bulls want to do the DeMar trade, I don't think we can even get Lamar because they want like good people back.
I don't get. He's an unrestricted free agent. Like he doesn't have to do a sign and trade. I know that opens up more possibilities, I guess, for getting rid of him. But sounds like DeMar DeRozan is one of the nicer guys in the NBA.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the only way I think we can get DeMar is if we can sign him as a free agent.
Yeah. And he wants like $20 million a year, he said. So he might just play out this contract and then wait to be a free agent and sign a deal too.
He's a free agent now. There's no contract. He's not on
that's what it
year.
is. Yeah.
That's what's weird about this.
The new CBA has ruined everything. I feel like the new CBA. Another thing about the CBA I didn't realize is that like bonuses, you have to be, so you know how you sometimes players get like wacky bonuses, like Kyle Kuzma will have like a finals MVP bonus or whatever. That technically counts towards your books at the end of the year for your cap. So because of all this second apron stuff, that's like making it super weird to sign guys. Like you're not giving them these bonuses, and even if they don't get that bonus, it's still counted towards your penalties in the apron and whatnot. So it's like you have to like make room for money that you might not even pay guys. I don't know. The second apron's a nightmare. Coming up, we're gonna be talking dips and then the end of yet another Clippers era. Coming up after these audio ads in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back in. I'm Adam Oslin. It's Clips and Dip from a new surprise location. Not my usual background.
We're all three in the same place now. No.
Yeah.
We're all the weirdest
all like
designed
put
house
our hands
in,
like do the scene from Rules of Attraction where they finally meet on camera or standing next to each other. That's a great movie. Yeah, I don't have a dip today, guys.
I don't have a dip either, dude. I had a really hectic week. I was hosting the barbecue.
Well, wait, I have an excuse. I'm out of town. How dare you, Chuck?
I was out of town and had dip not 2 weeks ago. Will, do you have a dip?
I do, but it's not appropriate.
Not appropriate? What do you mean not appropriate?
8 milligrams Zins, baby.
Well, you're saving our ass this week because that's the only dip we have.
And yes, I would bring it to a barbecue. In fact, I did.
In fact, I did yesterday.
Bring it to heaven.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't have a dip. I was just busy this week. I was thrown off. I'm sorry to the listeners. I know that I've let you down. Adam's also let you down, probably even harder because he's multiple times.
Not at all, actually.
Will zooted off his Zin, so he's doing great. Are Zins illegal? Where did you?
No, I just don't. I don't want to endorse nicotine products on this show.
Sure.
I consume them a bunch, but I don't endorse them.
Right, of course. Yeah. Banging a dart or having a Zin, which would you choose?
I mean,
I
guess I'll take the Zin, but in my heart, in my heart, it's probably banging the cig.
I don't smoke or
two vapes at the same time.
And you're doing the patch with the Zin, right?
Yeah, patch. That's why I'm wearing a hat, because it's on my hairline.
Yes, that's the direct to your brain. When it's this hot out, it can get to your brain way quicker.
Will's really taking that "this is your brain on drugs"
Yeah.
commercial for Back to the Day to the full extent.
Well,
yeah,
folks,
it's a smooth, soft-boiled egg. Is my brain on drugs?
Well, if you have such a smooth brain, yeah, we should talk about why the Clippers should have kept Paul George for 4 years. Well, folks, we got one dip and it's Zin, and we would take it to a barbecue. So go buy a bunch of Zins, I guess, or don't buy a bunch of Zins. All right, we're talking the end of an era for the Clippers happened today, and I think this guy had a very interesting role for the Clippers. If you've followed the Clippers long enough, you have a soft spot in your heart for this guy. Xavier Moon is now going to play with the Orlando Magic this month in Vegas. Canadian Basketball League legend. They renamed the damn MVP trophy after him. He was an emergency Clippers guy. He got shout outs on a former player's podcast. Great locker room guy. Reggie Jackson loved him. He kept the vibes up during some really down times, but shout out Xavier Moon. I hope he can come back at some point for the AC Clippers. I'm happy he has a chance with the Magic, but bummed. Great piece of Clippers lore, Xavier Moon.
I think he's ineligible to be on a two-way because it would be the 4th straight year, and he's already done it 3 straight years. And I think they're expecting you to graduate at that point.
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just too small to be in the NBA. I don't know.
For sure.
It's a bummer.
You put him in the 90s, and he's getting 20 minutes a night.
Oh, and he's killing. Absolutely. But yeah, I was bummed to see that. I was like, Xavier Moon rules. Like, I hope he has a good time in Orlando. Yeah,
a player I've really admired and has definitely had a great attitude and has been one of the step-up guys, like you said. I mean, he's a stay-ready guy. Yeah, I'll always think fondly of him. I enjoyed watching him on the court.
A vibes pillar for the Clippers team. Well, we were going to do 10 more minutes, but none of us have any dips. So I think we can all go.
Will brought up something interesting off air before we went on.
Oh.
Oh, do we have something else?
No, I was going to say the Zins, but.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't know about that off air. Will said the national media is starting to catch up to why the Clippers would let go of Paul George.
The national media there's a bunch of dipshits on Twitter who are fake basketball media who aren't, but
there will always be dipshits on Twitter though.
That's very true. Yeah, Windhorse recently. Wasn't it Windhorse who was like, this is the 3rd time we've talked about this. Why are we pretending this is a lock all of a sudden? And it's because the media hates the Clippers.
Well, he thought they were rudderless and didn't have a direction right at the start of free agency. And he's like, I don't know what they're doing. Great analysis, man. You couldn't see that they were trying to lean into defense, you dumbass. I like Windhorse, but I like Windhorse. Everybody on that panel, Kendrick Perkins, they were all so befuddled by what the Clippers were doing with bringing in Derrick Jones Jr. It's like, guys, they're trying to be a much better defensive team. I don't think anybody realized how bad they were on that end last season.
Yeah, and I think too, I mean, look, you can say whatever you want about the Clippers. I mean, obviously, trade didn't work out the way they got Paul George, and it really was not for a lack of trying. They tried every single configuration that he wanted, brought in every single friend, tried everything. And I know that people were pointing out, if the Clippers, as far as they were willing to go, was near that Kawhi deal, 3 for $150, which would still make them a second apron team. Maybe the Clippers were just never really 2 feet into these negotiations in the first place. They gave him one big contract. It resulted in 3 playoff series wins in 5 years, and I don't know. I think that's pretty reasonable to want to move on from that. And as far as I've talked about this already on here before. As far as the let him walk for nothing, I just think the return that you were looking at is not worth being over the second apron. Like for
couldn't
what?
get Kuminga,
Like for
for
like a measly like late first round pick, and you could, you know, in a season or two shed some of the salary. Like I don't think that return was worth it. I don't fault the front office for that deal at all.
I think the reaction to the Paul George thing shows, and you maybe have to stick with me on this one. It's a lot easier to shit on the Clippers for not re-signing Paul George for 4 years than it is to learn what the CBA actually is. To learn what the hamstrings actually are for any team right now. We're seeing it happen in different ways. This is not the first time a team isn't going to re-sign a guy to a max contract.
It's much worse for the Clippers when you talk about picks, first-round picks, 7 years out being frozen. And if you're over the second apron 3 times out of 5 years, those picks moving to the back of the line.
Twice.
For the Clippers, who don't have a first-round pick till 2030, despite the balloons background going off.
I don't know what's going
it's
on.
nothing to celebrate. Like, it is way more of a penalty for a team like them than anybody else, because this would already be the second straight year they're over the second apron had they re-signed Paul George. They were last year. So they're already flirting with having picks frozen. If they're one more year in with this, it's more detrimental to them really than anyone because of all the first round picks that have been out. Like, to imagine them, we finally have our picks back, but they're frozen and they're pick 30. Great.
Great, yeah. And we should have had like the 6th because Paul George is 38 and we're paying him $60 million and we fucking suck.
And I don't think and I know Will wasn't saying this, but I don't think, it's Paul George's all his fault. They only won 3 playoff series. Like, it's so nuanced and complicated. Outside of just this, the Clippers could never stay healthy enough. And he was.
I was going to say, is it that nuance? They just weren't healthy. Again, no, I don't blame Paul George for that, but no, they weren't healthy. If that happens, 4 straight years in a row, heads are going to roll. And maybe, regardless of whether you think it was the right heads or not, like, this is where we are. This is what the deal was. And I also wonder. I just wonder what this would have looked like if Kawhi was asking for a max. You know what I mean? Like,
I think they
is there a world where both of these
read the
dudes
room.
are gone? Yeah,
I think Kawhi saw that. Like, obviously, me not being healthy, it's been hurting the team too. This sucks. I want to be healthy. I'm not taking an extra year, and I'm taking $10 million less on this deal.
And it was after he signed after the Harden deal, right?
The first one, the trade.
Yeah.
And he
signed after the Harden trade. So he also was, I just think that he was obviously he doesn't have the same leverage due to the health situation, but he read the room and he knew that if there was any way to keep this team together, it would involve a little bit of sacrifice on the financial end.
And he knows, like his comments about the power forward, right? He knows that this team needs some help. He understands how his salary can affect winning at this point in his career with his injuries and whatnot. Like, I think they would have pieced out if you would have asked for max.
He and James Harden both took a lot less. Both took enough less to make it feasible for the Clippers to do a little bit more on the margins. Paul George wasn't willing to do that. That's fine. That's his prerogative. He'll be in Philly because of that. But it's the Clippers to not want to give. It's the Clippers, position to not want to give him that 4th year. Like, I completely see these negotiations from both sides in this scenario. It's Paul George and his agent's job that if you're going for the money, get as much as you can.
Get the money.
Totally cool. From the Clippers' point of view, not giving him all that money also makes sense. Like, there shouldn't be that much bitterness and acrimony around this, honestly. And we'll see how things go in Philadelphia for him, because as has been mentioned many times, they're as unforgiving of a fan base as any in the history of sports.
Different vibes over there when things are cold, let's just say. I think that about wraps things up here. I am melting in the space that I am recording this today. Hope everyone had a great 4th and had a safe 4th. Hope the weekend is chill. I keep thinking it's Monday. I have no idea what day it is for those of us with office jobs. Will, where can these fantastic listeners find us and listen before we're back next week with more fantastic Clippers content?
Yeah, the best place to find us is over on youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. You can watch all of our episodes there. You can also listen to all our episodes wherever you get your podcast. If you happen to listen over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go ahead, leave us a little rating and review. It helps us out. But no matter how you consume the show, we appreciate you.
We always do. And before we fully get out of here to enjoy this rest of this long weekend, Adam, give us one positive thing to go out on.
Take solace in the fact that, hey, yes, Paul George is doing what's best for Paul George. The Clippers doing what's best for the Clippers. If those two roads don't meet, that's how you don't have a deal struck. That's what this came down to. It's not that complicated. And I think the Clippers have pivoted to a really nice spot defensively so far, having lost Paul George. And I think they had a plan right away for these guys. This doesn't look like a scramble to find anybody.
Not at all.
This looks like some intelligent design going on with the Clippers in constructing this team and being a more defensive-oriented squad with Jeff Van Gundy now as an assistant coach. So I like what I'm seeing. No, you can't make up for losing Paul George. Like I talked about with Doug Gottlieb. Like, there's no way to do that. But if all of a sudden you're 10th defensively on the entire season, even though you're going to slip offensively, you're still very competitive.
And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be competitive next year. Wonderful positivity going into this offseason. Again, like I said, hope everyone has a great rest of your weekend. And as always, let's go Clips.